Hi everyone and welcome back. So now we need to start development on the Airbnb clone application. I'm parallelly also building a Udemy clone application, and the architecture of both the application looks like similar. So first we need to do a monorepo setup, which contains all your Next.js application, Nest.js application, your APIs, your proxy gateway, and all those things. So in most of my projects, I'm using PNPM workspace, and so I'm using monorepo with the PNPM workspace, and then I'm adding applications and packages. So here, once the monorepo is ready, we will add a Nest.js APIs, and there we can use a Prisma for the ORM, like we have a type ORM, Prisma, and other. And we are going to use auth0 for authentication. And if you wanted to use a Next.js, then there is a NextAuth authentication library that can use your auth0 authentication mechanism. I mean, you don't need to explicitly use auth0 libraries to use auth. You can use a NextAuth, and we will do the integration of NextAuth with auth0. Auth0 is actually a provider, and NextAuth is just a library which will help you to manage the session between your Next.js client and server components. Okay, so I will just create a structure like what is our target. We are building something with the Next.js. We are using auth0 for the user management. So you need to just register a user, and because we are using this auth0 to manage the users, and we are using NextAuth is just an interfacing library that will allow you to create a session between Next.js and your auth0. So auth0 will give you the login. When you enter the username password, it will check the it will check the validity, and then it will create a session for you, because your auth0 will be giving us the access token. So this is what we are going to do here. This is a Next.js application is going to talk to your auth0. So how it is going to work is, it is simple. Here we will be using NextAuth, and we will just configure one application in the auth0. That application we will provide application details we will provide to the NextAuth, like I think the client ID and a secret key, and the issuer and all. There are 3-4 parameters, and then you can just do a login. When you do the login, it will present you the auth0 screen, and once you log in with the social provider or a username password, it will establish a session for you, and it will also maintain the session token in the NextAuth session. I mean, whatever the access token it is returning, we can maintain that inside a NextAuth session, and that same token can be used to call the API routes, because we also have external APIs written in the Next.js, and Next.js will also use the authorization mechanism with the auth0. So we are going to talk to these Next.js APIs through the Next.js APIs. So I'm just using NEST and NEXT. Okay, we are writing external services in the NEST Nest.js, and from the Next.js client components, we will trigger a API call to the Next.js, and from there, if the session exists, from the session we can extract the ID token or access token. That access token we can pass as authorization header to the Next.js APIs. I mean, we need to have an authentication token or access token authorization or something which we can pass to these Next.js services, and these services will validate this token against auth0. Okay, that this token valid has not expired, all those things. And these independent Next.js services can use your Postgres database, Prisma ORM to read and write the data. So this is pretty much the architecture we are using for some of the services, like Airbnb, Udemy clone. All these services are going to use the same. So what we are doing, we are going to set up monorepo, define the basic architecture, how we are going to use the authentication and authorization, how we are going to manage the session with the auth0 and the NextAuth. We are going to create a Next.js application in the monorepo. We will create a Next.js and the Nest.js application, and the Next.js SSR will use a NextAuth. In the NextAuth API routes, we will configure our details about the applications, right? So this is how we are going to create. So we will create one auth 0 application also. I mean, in auth 0 dashboard, we are going to create one application. Okay, saying that these are the callback URL, this is my application ID or secret, and those secrets we are going to configure with the NextAuth in the Next.js. Okay, these are like 4-5 steps, and then you start the Next.js application. When you do the login, login with the auth 0, right? That is a provider. Then it will take you to the login screen, and then you will start. So this is pretty much we are going to do in the coming videos. Stay tuned, and let's build a Airbnb clone.